near-term goals for this business and your long-term goals for Dolphin Cove?
Near term is to continue the expansion in Ocho, to do further expansions in the Dolphin Cove Grill. We have camels there. We just put ostriches there. We're going to put.
They recently won the Observer Business Awards, and first of all, congratulations to you, sir and ma'am. And the first thing I want to ask you, Stafford, is talk to me about where you're from, your upbringing, and so on.
Fitzroy, first of all, thanks for congratulations you just gave me. We're very, very proud of having been selected the Observer's Business Leader Award for the 2013. Where I'm from, okay? Well, I'm from Kingston, and as you can see with the gray hairs, it's a long time ago. I was actually born in Kingston, Jubilee Hospital,
yes.
Way back in 1942.
Okay.
The war was on, and I'm told they were actually practicing a blackout at the time, right? So I was born in total darkness, right?
Okay. And talk to us about your parents and...
Yeah, well, I'm Jamaican. My dad and mom are Jamaicans. There are several generations Jamaicans, okay? My dad was a land surveyor. My mom is from Manchester. She was just a housewife, okay? He was involved in construction as well as working with the KSAC. He was the chief of survey at the KSAC. His dad, which is my grandfather, Bertram Burrowes, was a High Court judge in Jamaica.
Wow. Now, you went to one of those famous high schools in Jamaica. Tell us about it.
I would like to just correct you, it's not one of, it's the famous high school in Jamaica. Went to Jamaica College. My dad went there as well. My dad went there back in the days when, somewhere between when Norman Manley was there and when Michael Manley was there.
Okay.
In fact, his brother was an outstanding athlete, Earl Burrowes. He held the 100 yards record for Jamaica. He was jointly with Michael Manley, I think. Okay, he was centre forward for the All Jamaica team, and was played on the famous flying. He was the centre forward for the famous flying five, they were called.
Okay.
The Jamaica College team that was outstanding. You will know that we're still outstanding. Okay, when it comes to soccer.
Yes. Yes. Now, you left Jamaica College. What next for you?
I left Jamaica College relatively young. I passed senior Cambridge, which it was called at the time. Okay, I had wanted to have gone away and done being a chemical engineer. Unfortunately, my dad couldn't afford it. Okay, and I went to school straight after. I went to work straight after I finished my senior Cambridge. Okay, I was probably 17, 18 years old. I worked at a factory on Winwood Road for a gentleman that's well known, Ernest Johnson. His father was Charles Johnson, who was the original shipper of bananas out of Jamaica, the grandfather of the present Charles Johnson, who's still into agriculture and shipping. Okay, he had a factory on Winwood Road and Elliston Road, and I worked there in their department to produce foam rubber. At the time they were just manufacturing, they were just retreading car tires, and we went into producing foam rubber as well as polyurethane foam. And I worked with him for about 10 years. I started out as a junior, very, very junior. I assisted in sweeping up in the evenings, amongst other things, and ended up being the manager of that department of the factory that was manufacturing the foam. After that, I left and went to work with Life of Jamaica.
Okay.
I had about 3 or 4 years as a life insurance salesman. In fact, I was friendly with Marilyn from those days. We were married, and they didn't allow husbands and wives to work at the same establishment.
Mm-hmm.
So one of us had to go, so we knew who we left. Right? So Marilyn left and started a flower business where she had studied to be a designer. And when we opened a flower shop called Marilyn's Flower Shop, on Trafalgar Road, actually where Linda's was up till recently, right between NCB and Petrojam, I think. It's just across from what was the Courtly Manor Hotel. So now I think Scotiabank has a building there now. So she went and started a retail flower business, and I worked with Life in Jamaica for about 4 years. I was also involved in construction and farming because there was a great deal of difficulty those days to import flowers into Jamaica. And her business had grown very big. She probably had become the largest retail florist in the island, just in a matter of years. And it was necessary to get involved in horticulture to grow flowers. So I started a nursery, a farm out in Lloyd's district in Yallis, along with a very knowledgeable horticulturist called Cleve Simons. And Cleve and myself were partners, and we started to produce flowers, but we produced quantities not just for Marilyn's flower shop, but for the entire island. So we became a major producer of flowers. So that went on for several years. I'd probably say 8 or 10 years, I can't remember exactly. So after that, I followed in my dad's footsteps, not after, but during the whole of that process, from I left City Retreading. But I go back before that. Before I left City Retreading, shortly after I left school at 17 or 18 and went to work at City Retreading, I joined with a very close friend of mine who was in my former school called Stafford Carvalho. Okay, and we put all our little savings together and bought a piece of land at Beverly Hills, corner of Blythewood Drive and Shenstone. And with the assistance of Stafford's dad back in signing a note at the bank to get us some financing, we built a house. My dad had always been involved in construction. He built homes and sold them. And I can remember, maybe right back to 5 or 6 years old, we'd be walking around the construction sites with him, so I gained a bit of knowledge on construction. I used his workers, and we built a house in Beverly Hills for the purpose of reselling. It was a little tricky at the start because having finished the house, we had a lot of problems selling it, okay? It took us about a year to get it sold. However, we did eventually get it sold, never made much money, made a little bit of money, and I was very relieved. But after that, I still continued in construction. My dad started building small studio type apartments in Kingston for the lower income people. So I followed in that, and I built an apartment building just off Mountain View Avenue, just at the back of Tucker Avenue. And then I built one up at Miracle Close in Papine. I built several small apartment buildings, and small as in from 8 units to 24 units. But between leaving school and between leaving shortly after I left, working at City Retreading and working with LOJ, I had built approximately 7 small apartment buildings in Kingston, which I had furnished and had rented out.
So, although you were working, you were still
on the side doing hustling,
especially in construction.
Yeah,
and doing very well. Now,
sure.
You seem to be always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Even then, while you were working, you still wanted to do something for yourself. Why was that? Why was that so important?
Yeah, well, you know, to accumulate any wealth, you really have to go into business on your own. Okay. Yes, you need to work for someone because you need to have a start and you need to be able to accumulate some capital. You can't actually get involved in a business and expect somebody to lend you all the money. You need to acquire some equity, some capital to have some equity. So during that period, where both Marilyn was doing quite well at her flower shop, because now we were entrepreneurs in the flower business, she not only had the retail part of the business, but we started a wholesale business. We imported all the materials the florists need, ribbons, vases, etc. And we had set up a wholesale operation, so we were now supplying the flower shops with the stuff that they needed. She was doing well. I was working as well, and we were able to save enough money to be able to get involved in building some small apartment buildings. Because I was a contractor, I was the designer, I was everything in the building. We had a situation where we could build a small building, and the mortgage was almost as much as all the money it costed us to build it. So it was easy to go on with another one, okay? And in the early 70s, as I said, I was probably thinking of retiring, okay? I had accumulated several small apartment buildings. We had a good cash flow, okay? They were all rented out, and things were looking fairly good. Came the 70s, Jamaica went in a bit of recession, things slowed down, and I saw an opportunity in the flower business to ship flowers to Canada, to distribute in Canada, because my horticultural business had grown. It was important in those days to earn some foreign exchange, and it was really now an opportunity again to migrate to Canada. So we went to Canada in 1972 or 73 maybe, okay, 73. we set up with one of the largest supermarket chains in Ontario to distribute our anthuriums. We had made contacts at that time with Jamaica Floral Export, who were growing and exporting large quantities of anthuriums, to make small bouquets of anthuriums, which we thought was a fabulous flower. It was a flower that lasted very long, to put them on the shelves in the supermarkets. We were very early in Canada in selling flowers in the supermarkets. It needed more supervision. We moved to Canada, okay? So we lived in Toronto for 9, almost 10 years. During the period we were working and building our business. Marilyn was a designer, so we were naturally gravitated toward the retail flower business.
So what happened to the business out here?
Okay, we eventually sold the business to Marilyn's cousin, okay, on Trafalgar Road, and he ended up selling it to his bank manager from Nova Scotia, Bank of Nova Scotia, and I think it was then taken over by Linda's, okay? Linda's flower shop moved into those premises. Yes. Linda's was another flower shop that was in operation at the time. We went back into the retail flower business in Canada. Couldn't do retail flower business in Canada and in Jamaica at the same time. It's a very business that requires a lot of personal attention. Your customers want to see you face to face to tell you what they want. If a bride is getting married, she needs to talk to the florist, okay? We purchased a small retail flower shop in Port Credit in Mississauga in Ontario. And over the period of time we were there, we grew it to 6 locations in southern Ontario. If I say anything, I must have worked real hard looking back at it, because work started for me then at 5 o'clock in the mornings at the auction buying the flowers, ended at 10 o'clock at night at the shopping mall when the stores were closing. Right? But I enjoyed it. It was for us an opportunity to learn to be more efficient in what you're doing, because once you're in the North American market, you got to work hard. It's a different ball game, okay? Right? But we were successful at it. We had a nice home out in Oakville, right, south side of Toronto, and kids were going to school. Everything was going on very nice, right? I was shoveling snow in the winter, okay? And the oil price in the world started to rocket up, right? And I was buying roses from growers who grow roses in Ontario in glass houses. When you have a glass house, you need to maintain the temperature for roses between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and outside is run at Orange Hall in St. Anne, or an anthurium farm up in Blackstone Edge, and assisted with another rose farm that went into the business when they saw ours up in Manchester, in Mandeville, outside of Mountain Rose Hill, on the western side of Manchester, there up on the hills. We're going fairly well. We expanded tremendously the anthurium business. We became probably the largest anthurium farm in the world. We partnered with the largest anthurium farmer in Hawaii and had established what would have been a gigantic anthurium growing group. I would say we were probably producing over 20% of the anthuriums produced in the world. Gave us the ability to control the world market for anthuriums. Then we had a problem. A disease in the anthurium industry hit us simultaneously as hit in Hawaii and just about all the anthurium growers in the world. There are only 3 big anthurium growing countries in the world: Hawaii, Jamaica, Mauritius, and then I think 4th, the Ivory Coast also grew. We all got a very, very uncurable anthurium disease. Plants started dying. We fought it for a couple of years. We did all we could. We brought in all the experts. Gilbert eventually came along, demolished all the structures. The disease spread became total in the entire farm. It was not practical to re-establish the farms, so that became the end of the anthurium farm. And the rose farm similarly. What had happened to us with the roses is that we had lost our competitive edge when Colombia started big production of roses. We were having to depend on Air Jamaica to carry our product to the market in North America, both into Miami, New York, and into Toronto. Not too reliable, okay, and you're dealing with a very perishable product, and then you also had our local little problems like flat bridge was down and the truck couldn't cross, right? So we missed the plane. So some of our distributors weren't happy to hear about flat bridge or the fact that Air Jamaica. On the other side, product coming out of Colombia was very, very good quality. They were flying their big cargo 747 aircraft into the market, right? Much lower freight. So we were taking a beating. So when Gilbert totaled us all, we packed up. I came out of the business. I resigned from Pan Jamaica, and the farm was sold to other people who went into other types of products. Okay.
Join Cable News and Sports on Mondays at 6:20 p.m. for UN in Action. UN in Action gives you a glimpse at some of the work of the United Nations as they seek to reduce poverty and foster development in developing countries across the globe. UN in Action every Monday at 6:20 p.m. on your News and Sports Authority, Cable News and Sports. Are you having a wedding, a funeral, a graduation, or just about any other function? Then let InFocus Productions provide you with professional video and photographic services from anywhere in the island at the best possible price. InFocus Productions also offer PA system and projector screen rentals. Call us at 949-5326, 949-4331 or 276-7825. So for all your video and photographic services, plus PA system and projector screen rentals, it's InFocus Productions, where your function is in our focus. Every Mondays at 6:05 p.m., Cable News and Sports brings you Inside the World Bank. Get an insight into the mission of the World Bank as they fund some of the world's major projects to assist in economic development.
We estimate at the bank that even a mild epidemic will reduce world GDP by 0.7.
Inside the World Bank, Mondays at 6:05 p.m. on your News and Sports Authority, Cable News and Sports. Cable News and Sports on Mondays at 6:20 p.m. for UN in Action. UN in Action gives you a glimpse at some of the work of the United Nations as they seek to reduce poverty and foster development in developing countries across the globe. UN in Action every Monday at 6:20 p.m. on your News and Sports Authority, Cable
Cable News and Sports wants you to learn while you watch. And so the #1 cable news and sports channel in the island brings you the best news and sports documentaries in Documentary Corner weekdays at 3 p.m. Improve your knowledge of world events by watching the largest catalog of news and sports documentaries anywhere in the island on Cable News and Sports weekdays at 3 p.m. The Documentary Corner is aired on Sundays at 10 a.m.
Dolphin Cove, Jamaica's #1 attraction, invites you to the experience of a lifetime by interacting with our gentle dolphins. Feel the thrill of the belly ride, the excitement of the dorsal pull and the foot push, and be filled with emotion as you get a kiss from these amazing creatures. Visit Little Port Royal, watch the hilarious shark show, or show your bravery by participating in our shark program. Experience the best, swim with the dolphins, swim with sharks, interact with the stingrays, enjoy mini boat rides, or go glass bottom kayaking. Wander through the jungle trail and interact with exotic birds, snakes, and iguanas. Enjoy a splash in the turquoise sea or relax on the pearly white beach. It's all happening at Dolphin Cove, a day of memories you'll never forget.
Having a function, seminar, conference, graduation, whatever it is, let InFocus Productions record them for you. Cable News and Sports and sister company InFocus Productions have the full capacity to videotape, edit, and broadcast your events on television. Let us promote and advertise it with our great advertising deals crafted to fit your budget. But what about your photos? Don't worry, we do that too. Everything under one roof. Videotaping, editing, broadcasting, advertising, photography, rental of PA systems, and other media related services. So come get it all at Cable News and Sports and InFocus Productions. For further information, please call 949-4331 or 949-5326.
Had a great success in the floor industry, and then this I would classify it as a disaster, a culmination of disease and the Gilbert and that sort of thing. It ruined everything, and you sold. What was it? Your mindset must have been very, very nervous into going into another major business venture. Was that the case, or you had a grand idea right away and you wanted to thrust into that?
Life is made of a series of ups and downs, okay?
Yeah.
What you don't want to have is too many downs. But so the flower business was up, particularly the retail level, it was up. It was up with the farming, okay, but then there was a big down. So you're back to square one. As the saying goes, you got to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and start all over again. Right. So it was a start all over again. For a short while, we changed. The tourism business was improving. Marilyn got an opportunity to open a gift shop at the Siboney Hotel, which was just built. It's now Sanders Grand, I think, Sanders Manor, okay? So she was able to get into a gift shop operation for them there. So she was working on the North Coast with her gift shop. She was also not doing floral arrangement, but she was doing wedding coordinating on the North Coast for the many brides who wanted to come down here, stayed in villas and got married and that sort of stuff. So she was doing the flowers for them, but she was also doing the coordinating. She was able to put together for them so that when they arrived, she had the priest, she had the flowers, she had the barman and the drinks and the food and the music, everything all put together so they could arrive 2 days before the wedding and relax and have a fabulous wedding. So there's lots of activity on the North Coast for Marilyn. Right. I now then we moved home, came to live in Ocherios, okay, and I was involved in business in the free zone. I was selling telemarketing. I was very, very early in what has turned out to be a howling success. In fact, I think my life, a lot of the time, I was a little ahead of the curve. I was a little ahead of the curve with the use of the telephone to service the North American market. And I said a little ahead of the curve because at that time I had to deal with cable and wireless. Right? The cost of the phone calls, although I was in the free zone, was astronomical by comparison to what it should have been and what it is now. So the business struggled for a couple of years. We did answer the phone for several North American companies, but the company wasn't growing because our cost wasn't competitive. So I was operating that business. I was also got involved through contacts in that business to offer the first telephone card we had in Jamaica. Only the younger people, older people rather, would remember ICAS number and all the hassles you had to make a call. So we realized there were people holidaying in Jamaica, staying at villas, no cell phones, right? Staying at villas, want to call home to say, arrive safely, or are the kids fine? The owner of the villa didn't give them the phone to use because they had no control over what the calls were going to be or what the helper would do. So they couldn't make a call. It became difficult. Okay, so we produced a calling card that allowed them to make overseas calls. Okay, it went through cable and wireless. It wasn't cheap, but they were glad to pay $10 US even if they only got 2 minutes of telephone time. Okay, so I was involved in that type of business along the North Coast. Cable and wireless had shown a lot of interest in partnering with me to get involved in the phone card business, because they had call boxes all across the island, but the call boxes didn't function because Jamaicans, you know, we all do the same. You push the wrong thing in the machine, or you eat a lick with the knee, and before you know, the box mash up and you can't make no calls at all. So a lot of the call boxes were not functioning. So they had a problem. They wanted to go into the card business, and we had the technology, and we had the computer and the platform and all that, so we were negotiated with them. Lo and behold, they put their own card out without us. Okay, they were considerably cheaper than we were because we had to buy it from them at a premium price. So the card business went down the tubes. So down one more time. Okay. Similarly, the telemarketing business wasn't doing well because the cost for the phone calls out of the free zone was astronomical. So it was a double dip at the moment. When you about the stock market and double dip, I don't know what a double dip is. Okay, so we had to find something else to do. We were living here at this property, which was our home. It was an ordinary 3-bedroom house, but beautiful setting and right on the ocean. A kilometer and a half from the cruise ship pier, and a couple hundred yards from Duns River Falls. So we saw every evening at 4 o'clock the ships leaving. Realized there was a huge potential, lot of money just doing off the island in those ships, that we should try and do something to get involved in it. At that time I was also doing videographs of people climbing Duns River Falls. Small business at the time with lots of other people. My son was involved in it, and he was more running it than me. Okay, so we decided to do something with the property where we were living here, because it was about 2 acres and had great potential. We looked at putting up condominiums, 9 3-bedroom units on the property for the purpose of resale. Back then, and I think still now, I'm not sure, but back then you were allowed to pre-sell or take a deposit. We spent a lot of money trying to put that project together with architects, etc., and went to the market. The timing is bad. Timing sometimes is very, very important when you're doing business. We sold 2, pre-sold 2. After a couple of months of advertising in the newspaper and push, one of them asked for their money back, right? So I said, fine, no problem, you can have your deposit back, but by the way, where did you buy? The lagoons in Montego Bay just started. I said, oh God, the lagoons must be beating me up, right? It wasn't the lagoons. He was buying and told me in West Palm Beach. I said, oh God, we're going through another one of these eras, right? So couldn't pre-sell enough to have enough confidence or financing to start. So that was down again. Okay, right? We decided, because at that time cash was very, very tight for me. Okay, as you can imagine, the double dip plus the apartment building project not coming off the ground. I decided we needed to do something really, really seriously now. Went to the Florida Keys to see what sort of attraction could fit where we were and what type of clients we had. I had known Orlando very well, but knew that Orlando would only have these big attractions that we couldn't come up with in Jamaica. Land too small, market too small. But Key West going through the Florida Keys was the sort of size market Jamaica had at the time. So I went and looked at what was there and saw that there was 4 dolphin facilities where you could swim with the dolphins in the Florida Keys. All relatively small, all doing very well with. Dolphins are very hard to get. I couldn't get any to buy, I had to rent them, right? So we rented 4 dolphins from a facility in Mexico City. I felt very good about it from a point of view of, I saw where the dolphins were coming from. They had been in, 2 of them had been in a tank in Cuernavaca for 26 years. A tank, like what you keep water in, tiny tank, spinning in a circle, right? So I felt as if I had done a free willy, right? Because now I'd put him in the big ocean where he saw fish, which he was scared of at first, right? Swimming around him and everything was now natural, right? But we started. Timing was again on our side because SeaWorld had under construction the same time we were under construction a facility in Orlando adjoining their SeaWorld park called Discovery Cove, which allowed people to swim with dolphins, doing exactly what we do here, right? There was a big concern. It was then owned by Anheuser-Busch, the big beer company, beer manufacturer in the States. There was a huge concern amongst the financial institutions and financial people in the States that Anheuser-Busch had made a mistake. He needed to get 1,000 people a day at $200 a shot, right, to make his thing work, right? And Anheuser-Busch didn't want the embarrassment to say he had made a mistake, so he pumped millions of dollars into advertising the idea of swimming with the dolphins. All the time swimming with dolphins were being done in the Florida Keys. There was no ads because the people were running full and they were the small people and they weren't interested in any additional business and they couldn't accommodate it anyway. But this big facility that was built in Orlando needed 1,000 people a day, okay? Which meant a family of 5 would have to spend $1,000 to go into the park for the day, okay? But they pushed it hard. I was on the construction, so I noticed things to do with dolphins. We opened in February. In January, I think we had Super Bowl. Swimming with the Dolphins was advertised on Super Bowl, right? Probably cost $1 million or $2 million for the ad alone, okay? So there was that big push. Well, we opened the same week that they opened in Orlando, except there was a little difference. The cruise ship arriving into Ocho Rios had an opportunity to swim with the dolphins for $89, right? That heard so much about it. There was big talk about the $200 price. We were at $89, and also we were in the natural ocean. They were in Orlando, you know, camouflage, looking concrete, artificial environment. So we had a nicer environment for $89 and the $200. The first ship arrived, we were sold out. We were sold out literally months in advance for the first couple of years that we were in operation because the demand was so strong. That, of course, encouraged us to get more dolphins. We got more dolphins. Then the park, the lagoon was too small, so we built a second lagoon, and we have continued to expand. Every year, we believe in putting back into the facility something, okay? So we have always been putting back. And I must mention, during this 13 years of operation, credit should really be given. In fact, most of the credit should be given to our staff, right? I never employed, we now employ over 300 people, okay? But I grew up in Kingston, I did business up in Kellitz. The young people in St. Anne, girls and guys, fabulous, friendly, like to talk to the visitors. It is something that has helped to build the business. When people come to Dolphin Cove and leave, they email us all the time to say what a wonderful time they had, how friendly the staff is. Right? That says to me multitudes of things. Right? It says our hospitality industry should boom because it's not just me. We have a friendly set of people, nice, happy-go-lucky people. Right? And they work hard. Right? They follow instructions. We have been able to train the Jamaicans to become dolphin trainers. As dolphin trainers, it's like you've gotten a profession. Right? They go away, Venezuela, go all the way to Turkey, right? Dubai, getting jobs, because if you're a dolphin trainer here, it's the same dolphin in Dubai. It's the same dolphin anywhere in the world. So once you can train and handle a dolphin, you qualify as a professional dolphin trainer that can get a job anywhere in the world. Right? And there are dolphins in all parts of the world, okay, in facilities like what we have. So, and I'm happy every time one of them gets a job.
Now, tell me a little bit about how you have, you touched a little bit on it, and I want to add to it. You have expanded this facility, because 13 or 14 years ago you started, and everything started to go up from then. You sold out from the very first opening and so on. And you've constantly tried to develop this property. What now, for those viewers listening now, what is the full capacity of Dolphin Cove?
Okay, let me tell you what we did, because it's not just Dolphin Cove in Ocho Rios. We recognize we're people in the western end, right? People coming from the grill, right? Lots of people coming in the cruise ships into Ocho Rios, people staying in Montego, wanted to be a little bit closer to the. So we opened a facility in Lucy, just outside of Lucy, okay? We call it Dolphin Cove Negril. People from Lucy don't love me for it, but Negril is a much more recognized name, right? In the tourist world, okay? And it's not that far from Negril. We also have a small one at the Half Moon Hotel, and we did one in Cayman, which is not part of the public company. It was done sometime otherwise, right? So we also have one in Cayman. We are constantly looking to expand into other territories, St. Lucia, Turks and Caicos, okay, both Provincialis and Grand Turk. But what we have done at all locations, and particularly the one in Ocho Rios, is we keep adding something new every year. So you can swim with sharks, right? You can pet sharks, you can have them lie on your lap, right? You can pet them. You can swim with stingrays, we remove the barbs so it isn't dangerous, right? You can put a helmet on your head and walk on the bottom of the sea and interact with the dolphins, okay, without getting your hair wet. You're 12 feet down, right, and you're walking. We have mini boat rides where you can steer your own little mini boat. The coastline is absolutely beautiful along it. There are waterfalls, right next. They have Duns River Falls, there's a Rio Chico waterfall, there's Bullhead waterfall. There's just lots of waterfalls in it, very short strip. So you can take a little mini boat and ride down and look at the waterfalls tumbling off the cliffs into the ocean. You steer it yourself, right? We have kayaking. We give you glass bottom kayaking where you can see all the fish and everything. I don't know, there's a nature trail where you can interact with old birds, iguanas, snakes, touch tank where you can see sea eggs and all that sort of stuff. Rabbits you can go and play with, lovebirds, aviary, just a whole lot of stuff to do. We also have food, you can buy jerk chicken, hot dogs, hamburgers, and stuff. So it's a day's outing. So a visit to the park is all inclusive. Once you're here, you can get to do all those things, okay? And of course we have special price for Jamaicans, all right? I can't ever forget that part. It's what the business is all about. We're Jamaicans, right? So we have a lot of school kids. We actually subsidize. I give them a free lunch sometimes. You know, we just make sure school kids all over the island come. We have thousands of them every summer. Some of them never seen the ocean before, but never seen a dolphin up close. It's just an education for them, really, really. You can see in their faces they absolutely enjoy it. I love to do it. They come in their little school uniforms, and if you make the slightest suggestion to them to get together in a little group and sing for the tourists, they are happy, right? The tourists are amazed how well they sing and how well behaved they are, right? So we encourage a lot of people there. We're presently adding some more stuff, right? We're looking forward to the completion of the highway from Kingston to Ocho Rios. When that highway is finished, you will be able to go from Kingston to Ocho Rios in 45 minutes. Right? Less time than it takes some people to go from Stonehill to work in the mornings. Right? Certainly competing with Hellshire Hills as a outing in the day. Right? Because of that, we are stepping up the sort of things that we know local people and kids will enjoy. We already have the rabbits and the birds and all that, but we're putting in some more interactive stuff. Like we're just now installing a new water slide, okay? We're going to put in sea lions so we can have a sea lion show. Right? Sea lion show is extremely entertaining. They're very easily trained animals and they can do lots of tricks and stuff that just amaze you. It's usually a fun thing, lots of laughter and stuff. They act like clowns, right? So we're putting together a facility for next year, right? For sea lions and lots of other stuff like that. We're constantly, every year, trying to put something in new.
If I might ask you, you have now put this company on the stock market.
Right.
Right? And it's testament to the growth of Dolphin Cove. Talk to us about how that has helped you to expand your operations.
Yes. You know, when you're in business, it's not good to borrow too much money, right? But you want to take advantage of the opportunity to expand when it's there, because if you snooze, you lose, right? So you don't want to know you didn't move when you should have moved. Okay. We needed to expand, and expanding takes capital, right? So the stock exchange gave us that opportunity, one, to get some capital, okay? It allowed us to reduce some of our debts and provide that capital for the expansion that we're doing at the time. We had always operated with good governance, right? And I should thank a gentleman who is a little older than me, called Adrian Foreman. All the people remember him. He was at one time president of Life of Jamaica, owner of Mother's Patties, by the way, right? Okay. When he was a partner and a shareholder when we first started, okay? And at times I was upset because I thought he was trying to run the business like LOJ. It was a little small business. But insisted on good governance, transparency, keep all your records properly, do everything correct. So when we had the opportunity to go on to the junior market, we had operated in a very professional manner, in a very formal manner to that stage. So it was easy transition. So I recognized there was no problem for me to join, right? It was also a huge advantage because we were making profits, right? Although plowing capital back in so the cash is not there. And then we're paying taxes, a lot of taxes. So the opportunity to be relieved of taxes completely for 5 years and then only 50% for the other 5 years was a very attractive offer for me. I didn't think of it at the time, but reflecting back at it, one of the big pluses it has done for me, and things like the Observer's Business Leader Award has done, is given us a lot of exposure, not just here, but in the Caribbean. So when I'm in Turks and Caicos or in St. Lucia or in Barbados or anywhere that I'm in the Caribbean, and I speak about Dolphin Cove, they know they're dealing with a company that operates very transparently, very official, right? It's not some little funny business that a man won't come do a little thing down here. The brand is recognized, right? So that has been for us, plus that I didn't anticipate at the time. Because anywhere I go to now in the Caribbean, they know Dolphin Cove, right? And I'm sure there are lots of other little reasons that was good. A couple of lots of good ones, but you know, all in all, we are very happy with having made that decision to go to the junior market.
Let me just ask you, with such a successful business now, what do you do in your spare time?
Go to work. No, you know what's nice? If you in life enjoy what you're doing, right? It's not work, right? It's not. I come down every day of the week. Maybe I'm a little late on a Sunday morning. I get here by about 9, okay? But I'm a early riser, so that's for me late, okay? But I enjoy it. I talk to the people that are here. I see what needs to be done. I show people what to do. I fix what I can fix. And I spend the time thinking on how I can increase the business, or I can get more business, what else I can do. I like traveling. Marilyn complains bitterly with me. Every city I go to, the first thing I want to know is where is the dolphinarium so I can go and visit it, right? So I visit parks, right? Again, I enjoy it. I get ideas. The people at parks are always nice people. People who are around animals, or animal lovers, that's the first right off, you know, you're dealing with a nice person. And the people you meet at the parks who deal with the animals are animal lovers. You can't do this job unless you love an animal. You must have a passion for the animal. If we have an animal that's not feeling well and the trainer would know, sleep here all night. Take a sleeping bag, stay with it, right? Just like a child.
final question for you, because your wife is next. Talk to me about what do you